Hey guys, this is Tom Bucks, and welcome to the ban list video, or rather, the damage report of May 17th, 2022. So I didn't have time to do a ban list reaction this morning because I had to go to work, so instead I focused most of my attention into looking at all the interactions that we lost, the ones that we gained, and built up this report of winners, losers, and the top 3 damage decks, and we also look at some of the top tier potential, which I know you guys are really looking forward to see whether or not your deck is still on top based off of, my quick reasoning here. But regardless, this is what we got, so make sure you guys smash the thumbs up button, hit subscribe, ding that notification bell, and let's start off by reviewing the ban list itself. Whew, this is a big list. For ban cards, Predator Plant, Verte Anaconda, Meow Meow Moo, and Auroradon. All just link monsters, but these are the most definitive monsters of the previous format. Verte Anaconda, no surprise, that was within the ban list prediction, 100% it had to go. It was everyone's fallback. It made the format super stale. DPE isn't going to be all over the place. Then we have the Meow Meow Moo. Rankeds player, if you guys are going to say that you're going to be the best deck every single time you do a deck profile, I think that much boasting is going to lead to your cards getting hit. I was kind of surprised that it was Meow Meow Moo of all cards, because this is the card that, came out later. It wasn't part of the initial release. It wasn't part of the 1.0. And then this is the one card that turned it into a one card combo deck. And well, now it's gone. So you're kind of back to the original version, which is a little bit slower. It's not that it's bad, but it's definitely like kind of old school. And then Auroradon, this one hurts Sword Soul mainly because this is one of the key follow-ups with the Despot. I don't know how I feel about this one, but it is what it is. It's gone. Another one bites the dust for Halki 5X. But Halki 5X wasn't safe either. In limited cards, stuff going down to 1, Red Rose Dragon, Shooting Riser Dragon, and Crystal Halki 5X. Unfortunately, this is mainly due to Kitchen Sink, the S.A.D deck, Synchro, Adventure, Destiny, and it's gone. So this is mainly a consistency hit and also a follow-up hit. You getting, basically punishing the Halki 5X once is more than enough to kind of turn them down. Then we have stuff going back up to 1, Monkey Board, Yatagarasu, Jet Synchron, Change of Heart, and Time Seal. Okay, Monkey Board was telegraphed in Dimension Force because they have Gentrude and Lady Ange. Promote the product. You have Jet Synchron, mainly because Auroradon got banned, so Jet Synchron can come back. I guess that's the main key feature here. And then Change of Heart. No one in the right mind would have put Change of Heart here. This card is almost like a Pot of Greed level card. You can target a face down monster. You can just take control. This is going to be the sack card of the format. Everyone's going to have it in their deck because there is no drawback to running this card. And Time Seal, I'm not sure if anyone's actually going to loop Time Seal, but if you guys know, leave it down in the comments section. As for cards going to 2, I thought that people were going to have their cards semi-limited, but I was completely wrong on that. I'm going to put up my ban list prediction just shortly just to kind of compare, because you guys can call me out on stuff I was wrong on. But ultimately, it's all about the intentions of what we're trying to hit here, and definitely some things aren't here. Like the entire adventure engine is not touched, which is why their cards are starting to spike up again. Then there is the Dynamite Knight. You guys begged long enough, so True Draco players, your begging paid off. You got your Dynamite Knight back to 2. We have Cyber Angel Ben 10 at 2, Tenki's at 2, and Pot of Desires, it went to 1, now it's back to 2, because I guess what, no one played Desires because it was a sack card. Now it's at 2. Sword Soul player, they definitely got themselves a little bit of a fix with the Hulk getting hit. Trickstars are getting 2 of their field spell. This might have some potential real damages. I'll talk about it in the top tier potential. And we have Wall of Revealing Light. Maybe Dynamorphia players can reduce their life and wall up against a lot of attacks. I think there's a lot of potential there. As for cards going to 3, Night Assailant, when you can finally loop it again, I think. I think if you have multiple copies, I think you can still loop it, but correct me if I'm wrong. Trish loop is back. If you can make 3 Trish, I am going to make 3 Trish. I'm going to rip apart your hand before you even get a chance to play. Smirage Dalio, I call this one because it really doesn't do anything. Hero players, I guess you guys get a Hero Lives. And Salamangreat circles at 3. That's a big win for Salamangreat players. And Scapegoat's back at 3. Again, it kind of reminds me of like 2018 like Trickstars, where you just activate Scapegoat and make Firewall. I guess Firewall's not as good either way, but here we are. This is the ban list. And in comparison with my list, cards I got right: Predator Plant, Verte Anaconda. We have Red Rose Dragon, Monkey Board. Yeah, those are really easy telegraphs. And Mirage Dalio. I didn't want to go too far into prediction because most of the cards that I missed were all the cards that they brought back. So ultimately, scythe locking is not going to be as prevalent, especially with Verte Anaconda being gone. They didn't do the overkill hit. But you know what? Let's go into the winners and losers. So for winners, we have Adventure Engine doing really well. Dynamite Knight coming back, so True Dracos are definitely taking a big W on that. Hero Lives going to 3. That's a pretty big one. The only thing strange about this is that you could probably get burned to death because you're paying half your life. It's a lot. It's a lot of life. And Super probably did not get touched. We're going to be in a format where I guess branded Despia, branded whatever deck is going to be super, super strong. And as for our losers, well, Aurora Dawn and basically anything from Dual Overload is going to get, smashed to the ground. Predaplan Verte Anaconda, and indirectly, that's also going to cause decks that play DPE and decks that play Red Eyes Fusion to, take a little bit of a stun, except for like Guru players. Guru players don't even care. Guru players just activate Red Eyes Fusion anyway. Prank Kids took a big fat L. They took the most damage because their deck basically ran most of these cards. And then Kitchen Sink, they took a severe consistency hit. So ultimately, if you guys held on to or invested into Pot of Desires recently, or invested into your Adventure Engine, well, congratulations on the great steal that you guys got. Prank Kids, they took terrible damage because a lot of this stuff is basically irreparable. You've lost very key functions of your deck. From a 1-card combo deck, you're now more than a 1-card combo. You definitely can't just open a Prank Kit and spam a full board of monsters and win the game. That's not possible anymore. And so, because of that, that's going to be some major hits. In terms of deck losses, Meow Meow Moo, Predaplan Verte Anaconda. I'm not sure if you want to continue to play the DPE package because Celestial and Dasher, they're both kind of like bricks now. If you draw into them, you need hard poly to get rid of them. And so, are you willing to risk it in a deck that's no longer a 1-card combo? There's probably going to be some repercussions because of that. And you also have Fusion Destiny. Well, if you get Fusion Destiny, that's great because that is a 1-card play that does lead to a DP. Are you willing to risk it for the biscuit? You guys let me know. And in terms of deck repairs, luckily this deck was already like super large, so maybe you just cut everything and it'll be okay. Or you can just go get a time machine, go back in time, and during your deck profiles, don't boast about how everyone was basically free, and that's how you might be able to save this deck. Aside from that, there's no real repairs, like in all like seriousness, because you're losing Meow Meow Moo, and there's a lot of stuff that goes down with losing Meow Meow Moo, because Battle Butler is now susceptible to Call by the Grave because you can't do a double Butler. Lightning does not flash twice in the same spot anymore, so that's pretty bad. You can't just open one name to get a full board. That's pretty bad as well. So you're going to be focusing more on fusing the names that you have in your hand to generate additional bodies onto the field, and then you have to play from there. You're kind of going back to your old school roots of Prank Kids, and those plays are much more predictable, and also you don't have the follow-up. If you get disrupted now, there's no Predaplan Verte Anaconda to save you, and you can't just generate a DPE to maintain that advantage. So there's a lot of things going wrong with this deck now. So in terms of consistency and the power level and the recovery, everything got shot. So this was the best decks, and therefore Konami hit it like the best deck. It's almost like Teledad levels worth of hit, where Teledad, they lost like 16 cards on their first actual ban list that hit them. It was really bad. So this one, you lost utility, you lost basically a lot of stuff. This is definitely going to knock them down a peg. I'm not even sure if I would rate this as a playable deck of this current format, but compared to like what it was, I mean, you're back to kind of like 1.0, but you're 1.0 with a bonus package of Brave Engine. The Adventure Engine is still in your deck, which means you can still establish negation, and those cards are still very much just free to play. So it's kind of like, a little bit of the past, a little bit of the future kind of put together. So this is what this deck is now. S.A.D deck, Kitchen Sink, whatever you guys want to call it. Major hits on this deck because Predaplan Verte Anaconda got banned, so the DPE line is definitely shot, but I still think you should play the DPE, but you just have to sack into the Fusion Destiny. Normally, you don't really need to go into the Fusion Destiny stuff. You can still just go Synchro into Baron, go into a Shooting Riser Dragon, dump cards into the graveyard, dump the snow into the graveyard, and you should be good to go. That's still very much possible. However, the opening line definitely changed because of the Rose Dragon shift, because you can't just normal summon a Rose Dragon with a 7 on board and just synchro your way through to the end. Now, if you start off with the Brave Engine and you can do your line of play, you're going to need to go into Hawk to the Red Rose, which is already pretty common. But if you open with the Red Rose in hand, that's not going to feel very good, that's for sure. And that's another combo line that is basically cut and made inconsistent, basically forcibly made keeping consistent via the ban list. Still, you can do the same stuff. If you want to replace some of the cards or you want more tuners to be played, then you can definitely go for the Emergency Teleport, the Aim and Foxy Tune Engine. That's still very, very good. I mean, I would still try it out because it's something that I think I look forward to using, and I used it in Punk Sword Soul. So unfortunately, Punk Sword Soul is not going to be available because Auroradon's hit. So there's a lot of limitations here, but this is the one deck that can go without going into DPE, and definitely Predaplan for Tanaconda isn't the end all to this deck. So you can still do your synchro plays, you can still play with Snow, everything's still there. It's just that Hulk is now a bit of a choke point, and you're not likely to do the 7+3 opening play with Red Rose Dragon, so that's going to be limited. However, you can always fix it with additional engines in the deck. So this one, severe hits in terms of the best plays, but the finishing play is still more or less the same. The damage on Sword Soul is pretty minor, I would say, because they mainly lost the Auroradon line. However, because the Auroradon combo line always threatened you with like a full board, and it's going to be multiple negates, there's going to be a lot of disruption established, well, that's kind of gone. So you can focus on disrupting the first line of play, and that's really it. However, the Hulk line isn't completely dead. You can actually end on Hulk with this deck and still get multiple disruption and layer it, because you can turn Hulk into a Formula Synchron. Formula Synchron can synchro with the Chi-Xiao after you burn the effect, giving you a level 10, either a Baron or Chen Ying or a Synchro Longyan. There's just a lot of options with that, and a buddy of mine, he's already tested it out, and it's actually really, really good. And just Sword Souls in general, they're already a really powerful deck on its own. The basic boards themselves always threaten game. So in terms of what you lost, Auroradon and Despota 1 can be replaced with a Jet Synchron, or just remove it entirely, put in some Pot of Desires, and you can play like a full-on Chen Ying build. Like back in the day when we first launched the deck, Chen Ying was like the beast of the deck because everything got so weak and it always outplayed DPE. Now you don't even have to outplay DPE anymore, and therefore this board that they established is still going to be super, super strong. So final remarks on this, the deck becomes a little bit more predictable. The Hulk line no longer threatens full board. New Hulk lines are still very much possible, so the deck just got a little bit more, I guess, basic. Okay, so we're going to go into the tier potential list, but before we go into that, make sure you guys check out MSTmerch.com for some awesome merch. We have sleeves, we have mats, we have a ton of stuff. I would appreciate if you guys check it out, and take the time right now to hit that subscribe button and ding that notification bell as we get into the top tier list. And once you do that, the list will magically appear. Alright, we're closing out with the top tier potential, and I'm going to explain why I put each one in their individual category. This does not mean that they are like, oh, they're not tier 1 or whatever. A lot of these decks are able to win events. They could probably even win a YCS if you ask me. Any of these decks could potentially do it, but these are based off of their performance that I've seen so far, and based off of what I know they're capable of right now. Alright guys, so this is not like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. This is just what they are capable of in terms of like performance and how far they can push. And hidden means I just don't have enough data on them, but they have shown a lot of promise. So let's start off with top tier potential. We have Branded Despia. This is the given deck that I think everyone's going to be played because it is the strongest until, say, Power of the Elements come out, where Splites, your elements, starts to kind of shape up the meta in their own image. But Branded Despia so far, triple super poly, easy fusion access, quick ways to get game, ways to suppress the opponent, everything is there. They don't even need to play hand traps in a hand trap heavy format. That's why you know they're good, and they can go first or second, which is why they are the most dominant force right now. That's why they're on my #1 spot, basically. And then there's Sword Soul. Sword Soul, because DPE access is reduced now, older boards are now basically a little bit more sustainable, and which is great. And I think this is going to be the reason why they're still up here. And, well, essentially their plays didn't really change all that much because nothing really got hit on the balance except for the Auroradon combo. They're a little bit more predictable, but other people also have less of a toolbox to kind of counter them. Next, we have Therian Machine. This is for ABC and for Earth Machines. Earth Machines can cycle the monster really, really well with the rocket. But ABC can just use Regulus as a Monster Reborn plus negate. I don't see a better combo than that when it comes to a one-card interaction, which is ridiculous because ABC monsters, they are not once per turn. You can cycle to get a lot of pluses, and you can special summon the monster out, or maybe just give your monster immunity from, you know, monster spells or traps. It's really, really good, and it can grind with the best of them. Then there's Adventure Synchro. Adventure Synchro, this is I guess base deck, I think they have a way to come back anyway. They might have lost their Rose Dragon play and they're kind of locked into a Hulk play right now, but that doesn't mean they can't evolve. This is the one deck that is super flexible to readapt, and I can see La Pros readapting this deck really quickly. For the Wanderers, they didn't get touched. Prepare to get Featherstorm. Prepare to get, you know, completely crushed or Barrier Statue. Barrier Statue is really strong against Branded Despia, and it forces them to actually have some level of negation. Funny enough, for Branded Despia, in fact, for a lot of decks, because they don't run back row removal, and they rely on the extra deck to kind of toolbox a lot of the stuff out, Domain Monarch can shut this down. My wife told me about this. I was trying to figure it out. I actually couldn't figure it out, and I'm like, wow, I just died a Majesty's Fiend with the Domain out. So you guys can try it out yourselves. Then there is Therian Psychic Plants, another Therian deck. It's really, really strong. There's just a lot of these Therian decks. I think they're going to be one of the go-to engines for sure. Eldritch, they can just play a ton of Floodgates, and without DPE there, it's gonna be a lot harder to to break these floodgates. It's really annoying already, and they can play also Zombie World too. So that's a great way to shut down Tri-Brigade and a lot of the decks that require a specific kind of typing. High tier potential. Phantom Knights, they just lost DPE, but they can still do what they do best. But of course, they can't do Scythe locking, so that's a pretty big one. But there's still Phantom Knights. Phantom Knights can kill you really quickly because that's what Phantom Knights do. Virtual World, kind of in the same boat. They are also the one deck that can still Scythe lock you, and I guess nothing really got touched for them because they don't really rely on links as much because they can't really link. Sky Striker, I think Sky Striker definitely went down a little bit, but I think they have a potential of getting more stuff from the holiday pack, so they might have a hidden potential there, but they're still really, really strong on their own, and they can definitely be the one deck that normally just plays the DPE like through Fusion Destiny. They don't have to rely on going into Predapine Vertanaconda because they usually have to work around to force it out. Nowadays you can just sack into the card, and it's a spell card, so it doesn't really bother them, and they get additional draws for doing so. Drytrons with the double Ben 10, it's pretty good. I mean, the loss of Vertanaconda definitely hurts because this is the one deck that did the Scythe locking, which was good. I think they can still do it, but with double Ben 10, I think it's kind of back to its original roots without... it's kind of a weird version of the deck, really. It's like you have Diviner, but you don't have a way to search Diviner, except through Ben 10. And but it still makes the deck really strong. This might be a Natasha deck where it's just going to steal all your cards. Heroes, triple Hero Lives. Unfortunately, if you play Hero Lives, you're going to lose half your life, and losing half your life, a lot of these decks have the ability to burn you, so that's why it's there. And Heroes aren't known for the most interaction. One of their best boards is to go with like a Plasma, a Dark Law, and basically just shut you out. But they're not the most interactive. If you have the correct spell to break them, they kind of just lose. And what makes it worse is because it is a fusion-based deck, Branded Despia will shut that down. Branded Despia will always shut down any deck that is dark based. If you're a dark fusion based deck, that's even worse because yeah, thanks for the free monsters, everybody. Tri-Brigade, I feel like this one took a big hit because they lost the Vertanaconda as well, and that hit their branded version as well. So Tri-Brigade, I don't know how you took a really weird hit, but I'm pretty sure the person that's going to figure this out is going to be Yishan, and Yishan's probably going to figure this one out. Dragonlings, they're in high tier. I would give them more credit because the deck is really strong. They can play the branded stuff as well, and the interaction with the Hieratic Seal is very strong. It's almost like 3 disruption in the form of 1 card. However, because the board that they build are mainly just a bunch of dragons, and they get chewed by a set Fallen of Albaz. And since the Branded Despia deck is one of the most popular matchups, I can't place them any higher because they're kind of pre-countered by the best deck in the format. That's really unfortunate. Otherwise, I would love to see more Boral End Dragons, but Boral End Dragons is, again, another card that gets chewed by Fallen of Albaz. Yeah, it's kind of a weird situation that they kind of put themselves in because it's like they have their own Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon exclusive to dragons. Yeah, that part really sucks. I'm sorry. I think you're taking a back seat until Branded Despia, takes an L somewhere down the line. For hidden potential, let's start with Trickstars. They got their field spell back to 2, and with that means you can play Terraforming. It's like how you have 3 copies of the field spell. You can even play Set Rotation, Mystic Mine. It gets pretty annoying, and you also have Scapegoat at 3. And this is kind of going back to 2018, where we played Goat at, I think, 3 or 2, whatever it was, and you just link climb, you just use the Goats to climb all the way up and just wall off with the Trickstars, or you Droll Loop them. Yes, draw hand loop is going to be back. It's going to be really annoying. Unfortunately, you're going to get your hand ripped, but it's not the end of the world because a lot of the cards can be activated in the draw phase. And there's some cards that activate when they get banished. Like if you try to do this to, say, a branded Despia player, you hit their tragedy, they're just going to reload their hand, and they can also play branded opening. They can play branded in red if they have like the card in the graveyard. Whatever it may be, they just have that opportunity to do so, and you also need to like rip their hand once before you can use the second reincarnation or whatever to kind of get there. And if they do everything in their draw phase, you can't hit them with the draw play. So I feel like branded Despia can dodge it, but most other decks, if they get banished, yeah, it's more or less GG because it's a 5-card hand versus a 0-card hand. Salamangreat, hidden potential. Once again, they have 3 circles now. That's going to give them a lot of consistency. So I look forward to seeing a lot more Salamangreats. And they maybe played 2 Mirage Dally. You might start seeing the 3-axis build come back. True Draco, it's True Draco. I mean, they have 2 Dynamite Knights now. It's going to be more trappy than ever. Then there's Evil Twins. Evil Twins, of course, they only get better once the Splight stuff come out, but even now they're still a really strong deck, except they lost the Scythe Lock. I don't know how I feel about that. Pendulums, I'm not going to write them off because they are still just very powerful and they got new cards. Maybe the monkey boards are going to have some potential towards that. Ignisters, I mean, if they build their board, there's no kaiju, it's really hard to play against it. Madolche is just the signature thing that's always going to be there because they are the one deck that if you're not ready for them, they're going to OTK you. There's a lot more decks out there. There's a lot more decks I'm not talking about because I just don't have the screen space, but this is still covering about 21 decks. Dinos, high potential. I mean, if you resolve Misk, how are you losing, right? If you resolve Misk, you can just build any board. You can crack any board as long as you resolve that Misk, right? So that's my tier list potential so far. If you guys agree with it, disagree with it, leave it down in the comment section. I would love to know what you guys think are going to be the top tier potential. We get it. Splight, tier elements, yeah, power of the elements, yeah, they're going to be really, really powerful. But that's not what we're playing right now. And wishing you guys best of luck in your builds. I have to rebuild an ABC deck. I have it all figured out. I have to go back to a Synchro build because I can't play DPE. That part sucks. But regardless, thank you guys for watching. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, smash that thumbs up button. If you guys want to see more stuff from MST.TV, hit subscribe, ding that notification bell. And if that's anything else, check out MSTmerch.com. And I'll see you guys in the next one.